Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker, and today what we're going to be talking about is the bike sitting behind me, my 2019 Kawasaki Z900RS. There's been a lot of interest in this bike, obviously, because it's a popular bike since I brought it on the channel, and no more so than I've been getting a lot of questions about the track day. So I decided to make this video. This is about not only the Z900RS on the track, but also the track day at NCBike. So if you want to hear about both of those, stay tuned. So we're going to start off with, I suppose, to preface this. This is a review coming from someone who is like, I'm not a, excuse me. It is after work, so I have to put that phone on silentium. But yeah, just to give a bit of background, right? This is coming from someone who people might consider me like kind of okay on a track. You know, I'm by no means fast. And obviously I'm not a professional, nothing like that. I'm not a coach. So this is very much a talk about the bike from an average person. You might be an average person, so this might be useful for you. But just, I wanted to preface it with that. You'll see from, I'll put up a lap and talk through it later of the track, but the track times aren't going to blow you away or anything. So the setup is, this is a, like I said, 2019 Z900RS. It has a Ivan's Performance tune. I have a Racetech provided IBAC spring on the rear shock for my weight, and I have Racetech springs and Racetech oil in the front forks. I have a Delkovic header and a K&N air filter to go with the Ivan's tune. The Akrapovic, whatever way you want to pronounce it, muffler that's on there did come with the bike. That it was like an OEM option you could buy at the time. And I do have Pro Taper bars on there. No ABS delete, nothing like that. And the tires I was using were Dunlop Q5S's. We'll get to those. And I also have EBC double H brake pads. But other than that, you know, nothing crazy has been done to the bike, just kind of the kind of normal-ish mods. Is it a fun bike on the track? I think that's honestly the most important thing to address, because if you're an average person like me, the number one thing you want to do is you want to have fun. You know what I mean? You save up your hard-earned money to do these track days, and you want to know, hey, am I gonna have fun? Yes. If this is the only bike that you have and you want to use it on track and you want to do these modifications to make it better, absolutely. And I will talk through a little bit soon about the differences between a completely stock machine and you know, all the stuff that I've done, because I did do NCBike last October with it completely stock. A bit of background: I am 6'7" or 200 centimeters tall, and I weigh about 283 pounds, which I think is like 123 kilos, something like that. I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember what I am in kilos because my scale says pounds now. I'm in America, you know, freedom units, baby. Or as I put it on a group recently, I weigh as much as a small gathering of people. So, you know, that definitely does have to play into how you set up your bike as well when you are as large as me. So, positives on the bike: it is very fun. The brakes on it are excellent, especially with those tires. Brakes were absolutely phenomenal. And with the Ivan's Performance tune, it is very, very manageable on and off the throttle. Before the Ivan's Performance tune, it was kind of sometimes snatchy, like it was a really unpleasant jerk back onto the throttle when you got onto it coming into like a slow speed corner from you know, a high speed. And everything was correct. That's, you know, chain was the correct tightness, chain was nice and well lubricated. The chain is good. It's the same chain and sprockets before and after, which obviously is important. So we can exclude that from the issue. So it is definitely that stock throttle response was just kind of twitchy, and that is due to the fact that, most likely due to the fact that the bike actually turns off fueling completely off throttle, whereas with Ivan's Performance tune it does not do that. So I do think that did fix that snatchy throttle, which was always, it was really unpleasant trying to get the bike stopped and then turned in and go again when that was happening. So that is a big pro to the after the mods. Before, still very fun, but you did have to manage that kind of kick in the back when you were getting back onto the throttle. And like I said, I'm an Inters pace rider in N2 track days. I don't know what that means. I was also Inters in Mondello in Ireland. I would say probably mid-pack of Inters roughly, usually. Chris Gray, feel free to correct me if you're watching this video. So by no means like, you know, setting the world alight or anything. But I did find that more difficult to manage with the stock bike. Another pro is with the Delcovic headers. It sounds phenomenal. Like really nice. Definitely happy I did that change just for that. And of course, pre the suspension modifications, the bike was really bouncy into corners with my weight, obviously. If you're like 160 odd pounds, if you're an average size person, the stock suspension is probably fine. But definitely now the bike is super stable. Like I can really lean on it in long corners and stuff, and really get a lot of enjoyment out of that, because I think a lot of the fun of tracks and road riding is turns. Like I actually love braking and I love turning. So the fact now that I can actually really lean on the bike and enjoy it is a huge plus to me. A lot of that did also have to do with those tires. The first track day, 1 second, I'll check the exact name of them. Dunlop Sportmax GPR 300s. A perfectly good tire. I have no issues with those at all. But definitely the Dunlop Q5Ss that I have on there now, you can lean on them a lot more. They're definitely a softer compound. I will say though that the rear is just about done after one track day on the edges. But it was also very hot. You're talking, it was 35, 36 degrees Celsius on a track that is known to be very grippy, which obviously very grippy means more tire wear. So something to bear in mind if you're going to use the Q5Ss. You might get 2 days out of them, but that's it. That's all you're going to get. I would rather get a guaranteed 2 days. I think 2 track days out of a set of tires is pretty reasonable if you're going fast, and my size, I have no issues with that. But I probably will look at getting slicks now that I change my own tires. I can kind of just chop and change them whenever I want, which does help this to obviously remain a street and track bike. And that's another thing is, you know, for a bike that I ride on the road, you know, it has a luggage rack on it. You know, I didn't take any of that stuff off for the track day. It is really composed. You know, it doesn't feel too heavy. Obviously, it is quite heavy, but it feels fantastic. So I think the pros are it's really fun. Great in the corners once you have the suspension set up. Like, it's a really nice bike, very stable bike, geometry wise. And it looks fantastic. And you can keep it for obviously street and track. And I mean, I was riding, I assume maybe it was a decent intermediate pace with a bike that, I mean, I still have a luggage rack on, you know what I mean? I haven't done anything fancy or particular to set this up for track. It is very much still also a street bike. So that is a big pro. Cons. Obviously, the main con being I feel like you do need to do that tune and exhaust and whatnot. Well, not even the exhaust, just the tune. If you just do the tune to fix that throttle issue, I think you'd be in a pretty good place. But I do think that's a con. You do need to do that for sure. And also, one thing that I was running out of this time round was I'm actually, like, I have the warning stubs long gone off the pegs, but the underside of the peg I actually started to wear into, and I don't like grinding hard bits on the ground when I'm at the track. It's not a pleasant feeling, so that's a con. I am going to look at the next mod is probably going to be rear sets, and we'll go through them in a second, what the options are and whatnot, and you're going to get some free footage of my foot because I'm in flip-flops because it's really hot again. That's just my life now. Well, I'm fine with it. It's much better than rain. But yeah, that's definitely one of the cons is you do have to get the tune, I feel, to get the best out of it. The rear sets touch the ground way too early, it's something I knew about the Z900RS before I bought it. You know, that has been a commentary from anyone I've ever seen bring this bike to track. I've seen people make that particular comment. And definitely the last con for a 900, and it is a 900, you know, tuned for mid-range and street riding more so than track riding. It is kind of slow in, you know, the longer straights. I think out of corners it's perfectly fine. I was definitely being gentle on it too in the gears because it was my first day back after like I don't know, 8 or 9 months after a pretty not good back injury. So I was not going crazy either, you know, pushing it. But I definitely could have gotten more out of in corners. You know, went to gear lower, changed my gearing would have definitely helped. But yeah, speed wise, like out and out top speed, it kind of runs out of oomph after 110. Like it was getting to, I don't know, I wasn't really looking at the speedo, but I think like the 130s down the main straight before I started to brake. I tried to glance for this video, but I don't, you know, you don't really look at your speedometer. Hello, bird. You don't really look at your speedometer when you're on a racetrack. But yeah, for sure, that's a con. And with that, one of the cons for that is sixth gear is weak. You know, I had two options: stay in fifth and probably be bouncing off the limiter by the time I got to the braking zone, or going to sixth and it just bogs. Now, I still think it was pulling in sixth, just really slowly, because sixth is a longer kind of cruising gear on the Z900RS. It's a much different ratio, say, first through fifth, you know what I mean? And I will say as well, the Ivan's Performance tune, which I'll do a separate review on because people asked for one, like a proper review. It definitely did make a difference. I was getting into sixth, even with the huge temperature differential that we had this time in comparison to the last time I was there. It was like at least 10 degrees hotter, 10 degrees Fahrenheit hotter, at least, at the peak of the day. And it was still, whereas before I would be struggling to get into sixth gear, like at all. If I got there, I was lucky. Now it was, I mean, I had lots of time in sixth gear. So it definitely pulls way more and feels much better on the track. So as a quick aside, Ivan's Performance tune, huge plus. So I mean, overall, would I recommend to use this bike on track? If you have only one bike and you have a street and track bike and you want something that looks like this, which is bellissimo. Yes, I think the Z900RS is a good track bike if your aim is for fun. If your aim is to win the track day, which I mean, you shouldn't do that anyway, then it's probably not for you. I think you're going to want to go for a super sport or a super bike, because it's never going, it doesn't matter how much money you put into it, it's never going to be that. You know what I mean? It is a street biased naked bike. It is not a sport bike. We'll put it that way. So, you know, if that's the thing that you're looking at, if you're looking for something that's going to be a sleeper giant killer, and it has to be naked, then look at the S1000R or something like that. You know, if I could afford one, I would probably have an S1000R alongside this, just because obviously naked bikes fit me better. I'm a tall person. But if you were just here for, is the Z900RS a good track bike? Yes. Big old asterisk caveat there. If you do, you know, some form of tune, you don't need to do Ivan's. I'm not saying you have to do Ivan's. I found Ivan's good. I found it easy. I would recommend it because I thought it was very good. And I would highly recommend setting the suspension up for your weight, because the difference between day one and day two, my best recorded time was 6 seconds better. And I would honestly put most of that on the suspension, just because I could have so much more confidence coming into corners, you know, setting up for the corner, and also, you know, just leaning on the bike through corners. There was no more like weird bounciness and whatnot. So, which I mean is obvious if you know suspension. You're probably sitting there like, of course, Michael, of course, when you set the suspension up, it's better, you idiot. And I don't disagree with you. I am an idiot, because I am. But also, I intentionally did not do anything to the bike before the first track day, because I wanted to do a comparison. And that comparison with all of these mods, which don't amount to that much money, we'll run through that in a sec, meant 6 seconds on track with me, and I'm definitely a lot less fit than I was last October due to the injury and whatnot. So when I'm back to like what I feel I was that time last year, it'll be very interesting. But a quick rundown. So the spring for the back was $150. The springs for the front were $150. That's $300. That was all my own labor, plus whatever the oil cost. Really not that expensive. The Delcovic headers were less than $400, and the tune was like $300-ish as well. Plus shipping. Call the shipping to and from $400 total, so you're looking at $800. So $800 plus $300, you're looking at $1,100 for those modifications. I did put on RNG engine covers, engine protection. They were a couple of $100s as well, but they don't really count because you don't need them. I mean, they didn't add any performance, say. So, I mean, if you wanted to get the bike from the stock where I felt like it was definitely a little bit unruly and not as comfortable on the track to where it is now, you pretty much just have to invest like $1,100. And if you're going to pay someone else to do the work, like the springs and stuff, and change your fork oil and whatnot, you're probably looking at maybe $1,500-1,600. I don't know how much that costs because I do it all myself. So maybe call it $2,000. For $2,000 hairs, you can have a bike that is a absolutely fantastic street bike. Like, it is a fantastic, fun street bike. And also it'll be great in the track. So I do recommend it. Now, NCBike. So I did NCBike the first time with Evolve. Nothing against Evolve. This time it was just one of my friends was doing it with N2, so I booked with N2. Also an email to N2, and previous experience, they started me off in inters, which was so much more fun than going back to novices again. I don't want to ride in novices anymore. Nothing against novices, it's just your closing speeds into corners when you're like, 50, 60 miles faster than other people trying to go through the corner, it tends to get a little bit hairy. What else? But yeah, and then N2, both organizations seem perfectly good. So this is not a recommendation for or against either of those. I would ride with either of them again. And my next track day is with N2, again, just because my friend rides with them. So that's who I'm going with. And then NCBike is a track, really, really good. And what we'll do now is I'll talk through one of my laps. Just please, again, remember, I am not a coach. I'm not a professional. This is not advice. I'm just telling you what was going on in my brain for this lap. So enjoy. So we're just braking down into turn 1 after coming down the main straight. Turn 1, I tried to stay wide, and then it's a late apex, so you see me trying to tuck in here. This is one place that the pegs limit a lot on this track. I usually short shift up to 4th for here, and then we're pretty much apex again, out wide. I stay in 4th the whole way. Sometimes I was shifting to 5 depending on how it felt. I missed that apex by a margin. And then here, this is probably my favorite corner, because you're just kind of like easing the bike through it. It's very like the dog leg in Mondello. I don't know the proper term, but you're really kind of sending it. Here's another corner that I could be a lot better at. I wasn't staying as tight as I could have. Again, peg limiting me slightly here, and this one also I could have stayed tighter here. This is a great corner. You're just gently on the front brake here to kind of get the front to tuck in here. And then this section is also very fun because you're just up off your seat. Well, I'm up off my seat, I don't know as everyone else, but up off your seat through the corners. This is probably the most peg limited section of the track for me. This is where I usually touch down. And I absolutely suck at this corner. Looking at the map they have in the training room, you're supposed to double apex this. And I just got it wrong all day. I was really, really trying. Then here, I'm on the throttle. I let off just a little bit, kind of keep it as a steady throttle through the corner. I wasn't adding speed because you are quite leaned over, and then power on as soon as you hit the apex marker. And then this is probably where the bike is weakest, just all the way down. You'll hear when I go into 6th. There, and it just sounds like it bogs. So around about 130 miles an hour down the main straight from the bike, and that's it. A really fun lap. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that quick lap. 145, 146 was kind of where I was sitting at for the entire day, and I had to get past them, and then it climbed to 147. So I was really happy with my consistency. But to put that into perspective, I'm like 10 seconds a lap off the twins' time for racing time. So slow. I'm slow. I do think I could gain more time if I put rear sets on, which we'll discover. I'm trying to decide between that, and we'll talk about that at the very end of the video if you want to stay for that. But yeah, I mean, I really like NCBike, and if you're near it or if you're not that near it, I would highly recommend going there. It's a very fun track. It's very flat, but it's a very fun track, and like lots of kind of higher speed turns, and those challenging kind of trail braking and turns. So really, really fun. Really, really fun. I enjoy NCBike a lot, and looking forward to going back there. I'm back there again in July. I booked that last night, so yeah, looking forward to it. Now, next, so what you'll see over here, if you're staying for this bit, welcome. I have two options for rear sets, all right? One of them is Gilles, which I have marked with blue tape. The Gilles rear set is 20 millimeters higher, at 25 millimeters higher at the max. This is actually like, the tape's like 26 millimeters or so, and also a little bit back. So I would end up like there-ish, which feels fine. There's also Sato Racing, which starts at 40 millimeters, and it goes up to like 50 millimeters up, hey, and back. I will say, so this is pretty much exactly where we would be at. Now it doesn't work so well because obviously my heel, I'm going to be up even higher, but I do feel like this also would be fine. So the only thing is that's the minimum with the Sato, and I don't know how I feel about that one. They both look like very good options, but I don't know which one would be better. But I will say that, you know, just to show you really quick. Now obviously I did curtail my leaning when this started happening, but hopefully you can see that kind of scrapey scrape marks here. I'm trying to focus on it here. Yeah, so underneath the peg there, I've started taking off a nice chunk of material, which I then obviously backed off my leaning quite a bit, just because of that, because I didn't want to end up crashing like this bike a lot. I don't want to crash it. And I don't know what you better see with the light in here, but I don't think there's a wear. There's a wear bar. So you can see I'm on that wear bar on the side, on the Q5S. So I mean, I've read online there's still plenty of rubber actually on the Q5S when you hit the wear bar, but I don't know what it passed tech. So I'm probably going to have to change them, unfortunately. It's a pity I can't use them again, but such is life. That's just the way it goes. So what would I do next? Honestly, I'm quite comfortable with the brakes. I didn't kick in front ABS. Rear ABS is constant, but I'd like to delete the rear ABS, which I might do. But honestly, right now, that's not my priority. My priority, I think, to get more comfortable is definitely rear sets. So let me know what you think. Sato Racing or Giles, I don't know which one you'd call it. But have you used either of those, and which one would you personally recommend? I would appreciate feedback. Other than that though, I don't think I'm going to make any other changes to the bike. I'm probably going to just enjoy it for the rest of this year, and then next year probably look at buying a sport bike, or for the rest of this year buying a CF Moto 450 on finance for the track. Now, that's a bad idea. I could afford it cash, but I'd rather just not spend all that cash up front in case something happens. Would you like to see me on a CF Moto 450? I think it'd be fun. Yeah. So yeah, let me know. Would you have a Z900RS and use it on the track after seeing this video and the modifications I've done? And by the way, if you're unsure about those modifications, I will leave a link to, probably up there, to the maintenance playlist, which has all of the stuff I've done on it, including the springs and the tune and all that stuff. You'll be able to see how I did it and then decide if you want to do it. Would you ride an NCBike? Who's your favorite track day organization? Like I said, I've used Evolve and N2 over here. I don't have a favorite. In Ireland, definitely bike to bike. Mainly because of Chris. Don't want to blow his head up more than it already is. Massive ego in Chris, you know. But yeah, shout out to Chris Gray Racing. He's a good old skin. And yeah. I did borrow a trailer for this last track day. Pulled it with my Subaru. But I might buy one of those smaller, lightweight, no suspension bike trailers. But they're expensive. It's like delivered, it's gonna be like $1,500. Bikes are a very expensive hobby. But yeah, if you watch, thank you very much for watching. A special thank you, as always, to all of my patrons, new and old, the ones who have left us, who no longer paid us board the channel, but still support it in other ways. I do appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Anyway, yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comments. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this sit-down garage talk video. Adios. Outro crew. What would you do, like, if you could only have one bike and it was a street and track bike, like if you wanted to use it for street and track, what would it be? I think like a naked bike is kind of the go-to for me for like a street and track bike. You know, obviously I have the luggage rack and that, I can slap a bag on there, I can go off and enjoy it if I want to. But yeah, what would your ideal street and track bike be? And if you say the Tuono V4, please just don't say the Tuono V4, because I want the Tuono V4 so much, but I can't afford one, so it is what it is. But yeah, CF Moto 450, I think that'd be fun, but probably also dumb. I don't know, maybe one day. Bye, Outro Crew.